Hello, my friends. Jacob is here once again. Thank you for spending a little time with me for Press and Play, for learning about this final plague of Egypt. The final plague that was so devastating that it left people wailing in the streets. Pharaoh refused to let God's people go. He actually made things harder again and again and again. And it didn't matter how bad the world got. It didn't matter how many plagues they had to deal with, whether it was hail and fire or locusts or darkness or flies or lice or frogs. Now, I have a whole video on what this means symbolically and spiritually. But today I'm here to talk to you about the significance of these plagues and with what we're going through today. You see, the problem is that with every terrible plague that was on the land, Pharaoh still wouldn't let the people go until this last one. This last one that I didn't even want to talk about. And I'll tell you why, because I had a bad dream about Ethan. And I woke up and I associated it with the virus of the crown. And I woke up and I was sad because in the dream he had all of these, it looked like he had a really bad allergic reaction to something. And I actually screamed, "Danielle, get the Benadryl." I was so worried. But then Danielle tells me later that day that his school, his elementary school, because I have 4 children, the college kids, they're online. That's fine. Yeah. They're okay. They're online. They don't have to go into the school. A lot of the schools around here, like Oneonta, just had 150, I think it was like 150 cases, like right after they opened, which is ironic. But the college kids there, most of them are online, which is interesting. But the young kids, the ones that really aren't capable of keeping a mask on, keeping their distance and not trying to, not picking their nose or anything else. The young kids, I guess, they think, oh, we're going to put them back. We're going to put some stickers on the floor. We're going to force them to wear a mask. We're going to force them to have a shield. We're going to not let them interact with each other. We're going to have monitors so that there's not more than one person in the bathroom. We're going to, send people down if somebody has any kind of symptom. And then, all of this stuff, which makes it seem like school, which was already the beast system's tool, right? Already teaching your kids, that maybe we all came from something we didn't come from. We didn't evolve from primates, right? We didn't. It's like, it's already fact, but they still teach this. And why? Because we are God's children. And we've been enslaved in this world by a system that seems that no matter how many plagues come, it still won't let the people go. Yeah, that's right. After everything that's happened, I gotta tell you something, the Board of Education, they don't know what they're doing. And this is in New York, right? This is in New York. They should be ashamed of themselves. The teachers, they have no clue. They have no clue. None of them have had training. Most of them they're all clueless. You know how many people are taking leaves of absences? And if this thing is as terrible as this world has made it sound, it sure sounds to me like the system isn't listening to God. I have this dream where Ethan is covered in what looks like this terrible rash. And Danielle says, oh, he's going back to school. And then I think about that Kawasaki disease that the children get. And I go, oh my goodness gracious. And I looked the picture up because I remember it was associated with the virus of the crown. They said, I look it up, and that's the picture. So that's the dream. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the case, and I'm not saying that this is going to be the plague that's going to come upon the world next. Oh, good grief, I hope not. But what I'm saying is there's a reason why I was worried about all this, and I knew that this story, this death of the firstborn, what it really means and how it's connected to today, I knew that there was possibly a show there, but I didn't really want to talk about it because it was too negative, right? So what I did was I wrote it down, I put it off to the side, told Danielle, I go, if I get confirmation on this, because in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, God's word is established. If the death of the firstborn comes up or the plagues of Egypt come up, or if it just comes up in a random way when I least expect it, then I'll talk about it. And that's what happened today. I open up my email this morning, and out of the blue, I get this email from a viewer named Dale. Thank you for the email, Dale. Dale earlier had, I guess, sent me some things, and I had, at the time, I guess I was concerned with this. For whatever reason, I just opened up to Dale. I don't know who he is really in person, just from the channel and from emails I've received. But I told him that, I've been concerned about this, the wailing in the streets, the crime. And I get an email today from Dale about that, about how I know that this, and he had this idea. But it was just strange because right after I get that email and I get that little pinch in my heart going, uh-oh, I got to now get everybody to understand how worried I got over something. As soon as I X'd out of that and I went over to YouTube, guess I see Enter the Stars has a video, and there's a picture of, the blood over the door frames. He was doing a video, this one. And the video started with a scene where there was, the lamb's blood above the doorposts, and they start talking about Moses and the death of the firstborn. And I was like, okay, all right, I guess I got to do a video. So let me tell you a little bit about Moses. Moses would have been like the great-great-grandchild of Jacob Israel. And he was part of the Israelites, the Hebrews that were in Egypt at the time. Well, they were starting to kind of out-multiply the Egyptians. Back in the day, remember Joseph ran Egypt, and there was like a nice little collaboration that was happening between Egypt and that. But then when Moses comes on the scene when he's a little baby boy, right? Pharaoh was already worried because they were outnumbering them and they were stronger because they were doing a lot of the manual labor. So what does he do? He decides he's going to kill a lot of them. It's about population control, these plagues. That's how they started. It's about population control. Just pointing that out. So they're going to get rid of all the firstborn sons of Israel. So Pharaoh sends his people out, but guess what happens? Moses' mama's like, no, it's not going to happen. And puts it in an ark. That's right, it was called an ark. Little ship. Lets it go down the Nile, and it end up one of the princesses of Egypt, right? So he becomes like a prince of Egypt. And the way God works it out too, the mama bear doesn't miss out. She ends up nursing Moses, even in Egypt, and teaching him all about the Lord. But here, God places Moses right in the house of Egypt. It's interesting. So he grows up, he gets older, and he sees how just terribly beaten down the people are, and how that, Egypt has just been so cruel. And he's like, this can't stand anymore. We can't do this anymore. And he tries to do it with his own effort. He ends up killing somebody because he didn't like the way he treated somebody else. Killed an Egyptian, buried the body. And he ends up getting pulled in front of Pharaoh, and they're like, you're in trouble, dude. He ends up leaving Egypt completely. He tried using his might to overthrow things, and he ends up getting in trouble for it, and ends up having to be broken for it. Yep, so he ends up fleeing Egypt. That's okay, though, because he meets his wife there, and he becomes a pretty darn good shepherd. But just like his great-great-granddaddy Jacob, who also tried to do things on his own self-effort and ended up, suffering a lot for it. But towards the end of his life, understood that God was in control and that he could just rest. Sort of like I'm learning that it's not about what I can do, and it's not about what I can't do, but it was about what God is doing, being obedient to that, and that when hard times come, that they're there for a reason. About laying down that carnal, ignorant life that you had so that you can, live for more. So Moses is minding his business. Is probably like 40 years later after he's out of Egypt or so, I'm guessing. I don't remember. But the bottom line is there's this great experience he has where there's this burning bush. And it tells him, it's okay, you got to go and you got to set my people free. I see what they're doing there. You got to do it. And he's like, Moses is like, what are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? I can't even talk. I'm not even that great. He ends up using his brother for that. I don't want to get too much into the story, but the idea is that now he understands that he can't stop the persecution. He can't stop the suffering. He can't stop the oppression. But God can. And that all he has to do is just share what God is inspiring him to share. This is why I'm doing this video right now, trying to do the same thing. Moses marches back into Pharaoh's. He's like, let my people go, right? God equipped them with some really cool, really cool miracles, whereas his shepherd staff turned into a big, gigantic serpent and it devoured the magician serpents. But that wasn't enough. So what had to happen? One plague after the other, plague on the watered Nile, right? Their Nile god. They couldn't do nothing about it. Plague on the animals. All of their gods, all the Egyptian gods, right? They knew all of them, but they didn't know about this one. They didn't know about the one true God. They did not know about the God of Jacob, the mighty one of Jacob. Moses was very aware of this because he's like, who am I supposed to say sent me to tell him all this? And God is like, tell him I am that I am sent you. You imagine that conversation. Pharaoh's like, who is your God? And he says, I am that I am. Which, by the way, translates into I will be whatever I will be, because God is everything that is to begin with. Now, I'm not saying that these plagues didn't literally happen, because we see in the world today, we have plagues. We got the fires going on right now in California. We have the locusts, just like their locusts. I mean, the plagues, they've come. Right? I've been sharing this on the channel for a long time. They've come. But as I said in a couple of videos, I said one was past, two more to come, and then the next one was the darkness, which is, we've been in the darkness. You understood that the darkness wasn't about just literal darkness. It's about people can't see the truth, and so they are violent, and they're greedy, and they're lustful, and they're angry, and they're hateful. Everybody's turning on everybody, and the world is becoming darker and darker and darker. The 3 days of darkness is a period of time. So Moses would mention one plague after another, and then they would come, and then Pharaoh would be like, okay, yeah, all right, well, have Moses come back. Moses, pray to get rid of this one. Will you get rid of the murder hornets and the AI dogs? Will you get rid of the locusts for us? And then maybe I'll, just pray to your God. So Moses does, and guess what happened? Pharaoh, his heart is hardened again. And you think that the powers that be in Egypt, that they'd actually learn something. And that they'd take note and they'd understand that perhaps their gods weren't in control after all. So one plague after another plague after another plague. And what does Pharaoh do? He makes things harder. And I see this happening today as well. And this is where I get concerned. And this is why I'm sharing this today. Because, of course, I have a young child and I have a wife who is going to be teaching and is going to be around a bunch of other young children. And I know that many states are now making certain things mandatory. And we also know that they're talking about certain ways to combat this, the virus of the crown, with these things that the government is spending so much money and forcing through. And they're going to make it now, mandatory. And I could just see, what possibly could go wrong? I think of these things because I worry, because things that are not tested, that are put through, that are now mandatory, you're opening the door to some really terrible things. Terrible, terrible things that could possibly happen. Back in Egypt, it was all about population control to begin with. They were worried. Egypt was worried about God's children, that they were outnumbering the Egyptians, that the children of God were rising up. They were starting to wake up. They were starting to see that the people that were in charge were not for their best interests. Many of them were terrible, monstrous, perverse people. We get a lot of that today as well, don't we? Our leaders, our so-called leaders. Let's imagine for a moment that God is real and that over the last couple of years, especially here on the channel, God has been speaking very clearly. From Trump being on the cover of The Economist magazine, sitting on the earth, on the judgment card, right next to the tower card. All of these things where all of this explosive change that we've seen in the world, all of these things, the 2 eclipses, the 7 years, a famine that we talked about, the 7 years, we're smack dab in the middle of it. What do you think is going to happen in the next 3.5 or so years? Are things going to get better? Well, after watching things like the Video Music Awards, and you look at, the way people, doesn't seem like anybody really does believe. They believe in their gods, and their gods have no power today. So, I didn't want to talk about all of this stuff. I didn't want to say, because God forbid something like that happens. I know what these plagues really mean. I know that they have to do with a spiritual growth within us. I have a video about the 10 plagues. You want to find out what they are spiritually? And I know that the last plague, that's the firstborn in all of Egypt. If Egypt is the beast system, if you will, it is that idea of who you think you are, that firstborn that was born in it, it's about to be killed off. When these hard times come, do you know who's going to be the one that gets killed off? It's going to be the ego. It's going to be that proud nature that you have. When God sends his plagues and you have to deal with his plagues, you start to realize, oh my goodness, maybe the way I'm handling things isn't working. Maybe we got to go and we got to ask for the truth no matter what the cost, because that guy Jacob, he seems to be okay in the midst of the storm. And why is that? Well, on the channel I told you, right, when we talked about that signal from space, the 16-day signal, the repeating one, where we talked about Revelation 16, well, that when God pours out his vials on the people, okay? Now remember, man is the reason and is the cause of this. God does not do evil things, okay? These are judgments for our actions. Some people would call it a karma, if you will. I like to call it reaping and sowing. When you sow evil, you reap evil in return. When you sow good, you reap good in return. But the problem is this system is so selfish and self-absorbed, and they're worshiping all the gods of Egypt. But in the book of Revelation, before you have to worry about all of these vials of wrath being poured out, guess what happens? God marks off his children. Those that have laid down their egotistical, devilish life, that have laid down that firstborn that was born in Egypt, that idea of who you think you are, that was born in the beast system. The beast system molded you and folded you into thinking who you are until you lay down that life. Well, guess what? God marks you off. He seals you with a promise so that these present plagues, these hard times, you're going to be okay. When the darkness came, in the houses of Israel in Egypt, guess what happened? Their lights were still there. All the world around them was in pandemonium. People were fighting each other, tearing each other down, attacking people. People were saying horrible things. People were doing horrible things. But in the house of God's children, there was light. I say all this because those that have faith, they have no reason to fear. And why is that? Because just like how God seals those in the kingdom before the plagues in Revelation, he also says to those that are the children of Israel, the children of the kingdom, the children of those who've given their life to God, to live for more, to love others as themselves. God instructed them to, sacrifice the Passover lamb, to put the blood above the door and on the posts, so that when the angel of death comes to take away every firstborn. By the way, it wasn't just the firstborn males. It was like the firstborn of everything, of beasts, of insects, everything. Firstborn of everything. Because these are also symbolic, just so you know, of our thoughts. So every terrible thought that was birthed in Egypt is going bye-bye, so that only the thoughts of the kingdom of God can rule. And the Lord said to Moses, "Yet I'll bring one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards he'll let you go hence. And all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, and the firstborn of Pharaoh that sits on the throne, even the firstborn of all the maidservants behind the mill, and the firstborn of beasts. And there shall be a great cry throughout the land of Egypt, such as there was never like before, and never will be again." So when the angel of death comes, the children of the kingdom, well, they're alive and safe. And there was such wailing and such pain and such heartache in Egypt. They finally let Israel go. And I really don't want that to be the case in the coming, years that we have. I really don't want to see another monstrous, horrible plague come upon any of us. I don't want to see it. I want to see people lay down their ignorant life in this world. I want to see people lay down their hate, lay down their division, lay down their political titles that they hang on to so that they can hate other people. I want them you lay it all down. I want you to ask to serve the living God, the only God that there is, the only one that there is. The reason why I have hope in this world, the reason why things are happening the way they are, is because God is in control. So much so that after I had that dream, that terrible dream at EE, and I thought about this, what a great show, right? Come on here and tell everybody, whoa, this is going to be the next one. What they're going to do, right? They're going to make it even harder. It's like, oh, for a little while you got to be taught by your parents. For a little while, those that are working, too many jobs, too many hours and everything else. For a little while, you got to spend time with your kids and everything was okay for a little while. But now you got to get back to work. Now you got to wear a mask. Now you got to wear this. You got to do this. Things are now harder. They're now harder. God's saying, let my people go. And they're like, no, we're going to put them all together in the same place. And if this thing is what they say it is, guess what's going to happen? And guess what's going to happen to the system if that becomes the case? How many people are you going to think are going to still support this or support that? If that becomes the case when it comes to our children. Now, I'm not a doctor, right? I don't have any inside scoop. I have people that try to send me inside information all the time, and I say, this is not the place, because my job is to do one thing. My job is to get all of you to finally seek the truth and to finally live your life. The reason why I have hope is because of my faith. The reason why I'm doing this show is because of my faith. And I didn't want to do the show because I said, you know what? It seems a little negative. And it's like, I don't want that to be the next thing. And you know what? I want spiritually it to be the next thing. I want people to lay down their carnal, ignorant lives, and I want the truth to wake up within us, because perhaps that's what it's all about. After all, I did say that the rainbow was coming to the ark, did I not? Did I not say that? But if you remember correctly, when the flood was over, it took a while for the waters to recede. It took about 11 months for Noah and his family to get back on the shore to plant that vineyard and to start a new day, a new life. It's not going to be easy, people. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to be okay because we're serving God. I didn't want to talk about any of this, and that's why I wrote a little piece of paper to myself and I put it off to the side, and I told Danielle I got to wait for the confirmation. And then I get the confirmation today, one after the other. So here's the show. The next plague. Well, perhaps if evil does come upon mankind, that it comes on those who have done evil. so that they may repent of their ways, and that those that serve the Lord and that serve love and that serve others, that esteem other people greater than themselves, that the Lord will comfort them and guide them and keep them. And that God, that you'll wake people up to the fact that there is more. There was ever a time to ask for the truth no matter what the cost. Now's the time. Now's the time. Just as Moses told everybody, all the leaders, to go and get it around, spread the news. Just as Moses said, okay, if you haven't done it already, you better get rid of that. Get that Passover lamb going. Get that blood above your door and get ready, because the angel of death is coming. And we know that the only one that's going to be taken out is the firstborn in all of Egypt. So perhaps it's all spiritual to begin with. We're going to have to see. But I hope and pray that you and your family are safe. I hope that you don't hold this against me. I hope you understand that I don't have any inside information. I worry like any parent, and I don't want to see my child suffer. I don't want to see anyone's child suffer. I don't want them to have to go through, the stress of these days that this beast system says, oh, well, we're not letting you go yet. You're going to come back. Well, may God get everyone back on the right page. I love each and every one of you. And if you want more on the plagues of Egypt and you want to learn more about the story of Exodus, just go back and check out my spiritual playlist, my biblical playlist, and have the best day ever. Please do me a favor, share the channel around, subscribe, like, do that stuff. And thank you for all of you who support me. Thank you very much for all you do. I love you very, very much. Stay safe, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Jacob Israel. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and share this channel around. If these shows have helped you, help Jacob to reach more any way you can, and have the best day ever.